Hey, good evening. It's Valerie here. Happy Friday evening for those of you catching this live, and happy whatever day you might be catching this if you're catching the replay. Wanting to chat with you today about conversation that I had today about failure, identity, and also about the recent post that you've been seeing about entrepreneurial kids. The posts have come from conversations, I suppose, about why is it that I'm passionate about fostering entrepreneurial kids, and then I want to talk about failure and identity because I think it's quite related. So I used to be a child psychologist, used to see lots of kids, and then subsequently moved into the area of burnout. And one of the things that I've observed recently is how many challenges the future generation is going to have to really fix. And if you think about why children's anxiety, particularly teenage anxiety, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, why is that the case? I used to see anxiety really peak in younger age, like at 9. That's usually because some time ago, that's when kids start to actually watch the news and become aware that the world that they live in is probably not as vibrant and as cartoon-like as they think it is. Now, very similarly, if you look at kids these days, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, the kinds of issues that they're needing to study and learn about are pretty complicated. They have to think about the climate. They've got to think about some really, really tough issues that when they look ahead to what the world is going to be like, it really quite looks like a mess. And guess what? You and I are probably not going to be around to help them or guide them or help them to fix it. And so I'm very, very passionate about raising an entrepreneurial spirit in children, because I think that that's the kind of spirit and drive and mentality that's going to need to come to them in the future to really, make life work for them. And the one thing that my dad did for me, my dad was a banker. He's quite risk aversive. I don't think he would mind me saying that. Is he would make us get really, really, really comfortable with numbers. We had to basically account for our pocket money. And of the three of us, I have two siblings, two younger brothers. Two of us turned out to just run some entrepreneurial things. And my dad basically, he wasn't really about math. He basically wanted us to understand that the way that you make something out of nothing, like how do you pay for bread, or how do you save up your money to buy that new CD? Well, it comes from actually having a mind that appreciates that you have to use numbers, or you have to create something out of nothing. Resources don't just magically appear. And I think as I learned and studied music, and as I learned about science and physics and all of that, I really realized that you can't run away from numbers when you're trying to make sense of your world. I have one child who is okay with numbers, and I have another child that really doesn't like numbers. But I still think for the both of them that I want to help them to actually understand that you don't have to have a phobic reaction to mathematics, but a lot of what we do has got to do with numbers. So that's part of the post that you saw today. I also really feel very, very sad when kids come up with unique and sometimes irritating and a bit out of the box ideas, and adults just kind of whack them away, because that's the kind of thinking that they're going to need for the future. How are they going to take care of the ocean, and how are they going to take care of the disappearing ozone layer and things like that? Well, it's by taking risks. So one of the reasons I think why anxiety is on the rise with kids is they're exposed to a lot more real life catastrophic looking things. And on the other hand, they don't have a lot of opportunities to make mistakes and experiment and blow up labs. I'm not saying that they should blow up labs metaphorically, metaphorically. So that brings me to my second part of the conversation today. I was talking with a friend, as I'm re-entering and coming out of sabbatical, and really just trying to think about, well, what will it look like coming out as I put some of the things together, some of the solutions that I've been thinking about together. And one of the things that we talked about is, why is it that when we, those of us who are in a high category for burnout also have a lot of our identity invested in what we do. And the conversation that we were having was around, if we could just kind of get people to not see that what they do is who they are. And one of the things that I was saying a couple of things, was that when we actually look at burnout in the past, it was really more the caring professionals. In other words, they care so much for people, they give so much of themselves, and that they burn out. But today, the people who burn out are people who basically have very strong convictions. And they can be convictions about volunteering. They can be convictions about the environment. They can be convictions about taking care of animals, and of course the helping professionals. But essentially, people who burn out have really, really strong convictions that they need to solve, or they need to do something. They need to shift mentality. They need to make a difference. They've got to be the change, right? They've got to be the change. And so emotional exhaustion and burnout is somewhat pervasive today because all of us are kind of really convicted about some of the things that we're seeing in front of us, right? Take the pandemic, for example. We're all trying to support local businesses, and we're concerned about the economy. All of us are feeling really convicted. And there's then an element of fear that, what if this doesn't work? All right, what if we can't come up with the answer? What if this is a huge, massive failure? That's a huge risk to take, particularly if your identity is invested in it. So as an example, if I'm watching my kids, for example, bake a cake, let's say, and they believe that, this cake is really important because it's going to make me happy for my birthday. And they invest themselves in it. They research the idea, and it's not just about the recipe. It has to really tap into mum's interest, and it's got to make her feel so good. And, when she takes a bite of that cake, it's like her whole world transforms. And if that cake comes out of the oven and it's flat as a pancake, as hard and as cardboard, and as tasteless as the flour that it is made from, if they have poured their whole self and seen that whole vision of that cake was to lift my spirits, they're going to feel like they failed, right? So that's kind of a simple way of stating that that's why these days so many of us are burnt out, because we've invested so much of ourselves into not just what we do, but the outcome that we want to see it happen. Hello to those of you catching me live. Hello, Susie. Hello, Claire. And so when I was having a conversation with this person, I was saying, so it's not really quite that simple, therefore, to say to people, just stop investing in your identity, right? Much like what I was saying with the kids and what they're going to need to pour, their vision, their thoughts, their creativity, their risks to take to bring solutions to some real issues. Instead, I sort of talked about how we actually really need to just get very, very comfortable with failure. That's the bottom line. You just got to get comfortable with taking risks, things not working out, cakes coming out as flat as a pancake, tasting like cardboard, and get comfortable with it, right? And at that point, not say I've failed as a baker, or I've failed to make mum happy, or I've really failed in, the thing that I saw and what's out here is not good. You got a couple of options at that point. Number one, you could cut the pancake, flat cake, and cut it up and stack it up. You could pour some syrup on it. You could douse it in ice cream. Everything tastes better with ice cream, yeah? You could dump a whole bunch of blueberries in there, right? Number one, adversity brings about innovation. You look at it and say, what else could I do with this to achieve or to keep moving in the direction of presenting, mum with this awesome cake? Number one. Number two, you can take the mindset and say, throw it out, start again. That was just the draft. That was just the first version. It doesn't mean that everything that I see and I'm working for and I want to achieve is my failure. It just means that that was an opportunity to a first draft, start again. And that mindset right there, that actually basically acknowledges that everything that I had in here, what I saw, what I visioned, what I researched, right, it's all there. It hasn't gone. That's not the failure. I've just got to experiment again and try again. Number one, number two, number three, you could actually look at it and say, perhaps that was not the right time or not the right ingredients. Let's actually rework and rejig the thing. And so what I was saying to my friend is, it's not as easy these days as saying just don't have your identity in it, because those of us who are highly convicted in the thing that we care about, if you're caring for your family, or you're caring about the work that you're doing, or you're caring about the ideas that you're innovating, the thing to do is to just get really, 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 really friendly with failure. Really friendly, like really pally. And I'll just finish by saying that, one of the things that I admire most about creatives, people who write books or movies, I'm actually watching a Netflix series on the movies that made us. It's fascinating. Last night I actually watched how Pretty Woman came about. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of failure in that one movie. It's incredible. And so, just being able to get really comfortable as it not being a defining factor. It doesn't actually define us. It doesn't throw away those initial convictions, but to really just see it as refining. And refining can really mean start again, reinvent, do something different. And you know what? That's totally okay. All right. Thanks for joining me this evening. Hope you stay well. Hope you stay warm. Take care.